Hi everyone, it's Nathan here from NSC Music and Arts, and it's great to be with you, and welcome to these series of videos which are going to help us to learn to play a brass instrument. Congratulations on choosing to play a brass instrument. It really is one of the most enjoyable and fun things that you can do playing a musical instrument. And when I first started learning, I was about 6 years old, and now I've had many years of playing a brass instrument, being a part of brass bands and lots of other musical groups over the years. It's just been so much fun, and I hope that you get to have that experience as well and glorify God within the Salvation Army and this wonderful music ministry that we have. Over the next few days, we're going to be talking about some of the beginner steps to playing a brass instrument. And today I'd like to introduce the idea of buzzing and producing a sound. So the first thing to think about is producing an embouchure. And an embouchure is what we use with our lips to create the buzzing sound which goes into the mouthpiece and into the brass instrument to create that brass sound that we get. I'm playing a cornet today. It's in B-flat pitch, and you'll be able to learn and adapt these techniques to any of the brass instruments today. Today is about buzzing and producing a sound. So I hope that you'll be able to practice this no matter what instrument that you have. And you don't even need to have an instrument today. It's just about getting that first step accurate and practicing that at home. So the embouchure is created by the way of our lips and the placement of the mouthpiece. It's also how the buzz and the sound is created. And so to begin with, let's just say the letter M, and then we're going to leave the lips together and breathe and produce a buzzing sound with just your lips. Okay, so it's a strange sound, but that is our buzz that we need to create. So it's the M format of our lips, and taking a breath, we'll leave the lips slightly together, and we breathe and produce a buzzing sound with just the lips. Just like that. That's going to need a little bit of practice, so you want to go and do that before moving on to this next step. So it's very important to develop the buzzing feeling. However, that won't happen immediately. So you need to work on how we use the air. And the air is such an important part of playing a brass instrument. Without taking a deep breath and supporting the note that you play, it's going to be very difficult for you to create a good sound and a sustained sound. So it's really important to take that big breath, place the tip of the tongue at the inner top of the teeth, and breathe out by saying the syllable two. All right, so big breath first, tongue at the top of your back of your teeth, and then produce the syllable two. I'm going to try that again. Just like that. Again, it's a little bit strange, but it's a really important way of doing it. So now it's the time to buzz on the mouthpiece. So if you have a mouthpiece, take that out and put it in your strong hand, the hand that you write with. And then we're going to place it on our lips. Now it's really important that we have the mouthpiece which is right below the center of your nose, right in the center of your lips. Try and have half of the mouthpiece on your top lip and the other half on your bottom lip. Okay, it's really important that you do that. So put the mouthpiece up between your thumb and your forefinger, and then make the M embouchure, which we talked about. Place the mouthpiece comfortably between the upper and lower lip. Breathe and make a full buzzing sound. Let's try that together. Okay, we'll try it again. Big breath, create the M sound, and buzz. You'll want to do that a few times because it does take a little while to get that buzz sounding really good. But it should sound like I just played it to you, and try and keep the airflow consistent without any gaps. Try not to get something like this. Or when it's disjointed. So try and get that continuous sound. So one last time before we move on. Keep practicing. Okay, well done on that first lesson. I hope your buzz is starting to sound really good. We're going to do a few practice exercises now, and these are the things that you could practice before we come back again to our next lesson. So the first one I'd like you to think about is holding a buzz for as long as possible. So that's that big breath that we need, getting the right embouchure shape, the sound, that M sort of position of our mouth, but keeping the buzz sounding for as long as possible. That's going to help us to develop stamina, which we need to play any brass instrument. So let's try this first exercise. Do it all the way through until you run out of air. It's a really good one to do. The next one, let's buzz from low to high. So we're going to change the pitch. This is when it starts to sound a little weird. And when we tighten our lips while we're buzzing, we actually increase or heighten the pitch. Okay? Okay, went really high that time. And then let's go down this time. Let's start in the middle and make our way down and hold that pitch for as long as possible. Okay? Now this next one, I want you to start thinking about counting numbers in your head as you're playing. This is very important because all music is based around this idea of pulse. So whenever we're playing musical sounds, we like to line them up with a number sequence, which we call a pulse. All right, you can imagine that you're marching along and maybe your left foot is number 1, your right foot is number 2, your left foot is number 3, and then your right foot is number 4. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. That gives us a good sense of pulse and helps us to line up our sounds with that numerical number sequence. Okay? So let's play a buzz for 4 counts, and then we're going to rest for 4 counts. Let's try. Okay, let's try that one more time. It's really important that we internalize the pulse. So when we start playing more involved things, we can actually really keep that consistent pulse while we're playing, which is so important when we then start to play with other musicians. Let's try that again. Okay, good. Hopefully you were able to do all of those things at once. I'm sure you're a great multitasker, but just keep practicing that. It's really important. All right, play a separate buzz now on every count. So I'd like you to detach between 1, 2, 3, 4. Detach those sounds like this. Now, I like to think about having a frozen P on the end of your tongue. Imagine that. Have you ever done that? If you had a frozen P on the end of your tongue and you try to get rid of it, the only way you can really do it is to go like that, okay? Because it gets stuck. So imagine that you're doing that while you're producing each of those notes, because that's going to give you what we call articulation. It's going to give you a sense of detached sound between each of those notes. Okay, it's really important that we do that. So let's try that. Do that a few times in your practice, and hopefully you'll get used to hearing those detached sounds, getting a really good front to the beginning of the sound. Okay, and then finally, we're going to practice buzzing with higher and lower notes. So, let's have a little discussion quickly about posture. Okay, posture is really important. You'll see that I'm sat in this chair and I'm sat upright like that. I'm not slouching over like this. I haven't got my legs crossed. That is terrible. I see so many people practicing sometimes with their legs closed like this. Really don't do that, because it actually stops us from breathing properly, and it's not very comfortable to play like that. So keep a good posture, okay? Sit up straight, always take low and deep breaths. Keep your cheeks firm, don't puff them out. Sometimes I see this. Okay, try and avoid that. And make it nice and steady in the sound production that you're doing. One of the other tips I would give you is practice in front of a mirror. And that might sound really strange, but when you're practicing these things, especially embouchure work, you can't see what your lips look like. You can't see where your mouthpiece is. So it's really good to sit in front of a mirror and just go over some of the things that we were talking about earlier, about lining up the mouthpiece in the right position and getting that nice and even between the top and the bottom lip. Really important that you don't start off with bad habits, okay? So final thing, like I said, we're going to play higher and lower notes, mix it all up, and put all these things into practice, okay? So this is your chance to do all of these things in your own practice time. Let's try. Happy practicing. Well, hey, welcome back. You've made it to lesson number 2. I hope you've had lots of practice and time to work on that embouchure and get your buzz sounding really, really good. Don't forget to have big breaths and keep that airflow going. But it's good to be back again, and today we're going to look at playing some notes on our instrument. Okay, so you will need your instrument today, and you're going to need to be able to hold the instrument correctly, so I'm going to just briefly talk about that, and then we're going to go into looking at the first few notes that we're going to start to try and play on our instrument. So like I said in the previous video, this is a cornet. It's in the B flat pitch. Now to hold it, I always start with my little finger here on the right hand. Get that there where the little hook is and hook your finger into there. Then you have your fingers 1, 2, 3, which are going to sit on top of the valves. Try and have the valves placed with your fingers on top like that, okay? And then the final point is put your thumb underneath the lead pipe here, okay? So that's the right hand. The left hand is having the thumb here. You'll find a trigger behind that valve, so put that there, and then you're going to put your other fingers around the front of the valves like that, okay? So you usually have the third finger on this third valve trigger. So just put that there. Now, this can take a little bit of time to get used to. It's very strange sometimes when you start to hold an instrument for the first time. So ask your parents for help and use the online material that's uploaded with some explanation on how to hold the instrument if you need a reminder. Okay. So, in the introduction we worked on producing a buzzing sound with our lips and mouthpiece. Now it's time to put the mouthpiece into the instrument. Okay, make sure you put it in, and we're going to start playing. Now, a little tip, never bang the mouthpiece with your hand like that. Try not to drop the instrument, because what happens is that mouthpiece can get lodged into the lead pipe and it takes a special device to get it out again. All right, so don't do that. We like to, when I put the mouthpiece into the instrument, I tend to just put it in gently and turn it a little bit, just to make sure that it's in place. All right? So the first note that we're going to learn is C. And this is the low sounding note. It doesn't require any valves, okay? So the fingers can just rest on there. And it's the first note that most people will learn on a cornet. So this is what it sounds like. Remember to breathe, create that buzz sound, and then this is the C that we need to be listening for when we try and make that first sound. All right, so it's nice and low, note that I didn't play too loud, okay, and the note didn't explode. Try carefully to keep a nice consistent airflow, but get that first note sounding, okay? So what I'd like to do is play this note again for 4 counts. So think about that 4 count that we did in the previous video and apply it to this first note. All right, there's a nice steady 4 beats like that, okay? Now, on the online materials, you will see the notes written out with a stave, with a treble clef at the beginning, and you're going to see 5 measures of music with each note in each measure that we're going to learn today. Now, I'm going to go over these quite quickly now, but you'll be able to look at this online and come back to it at any time if you're not too sure. The first note is C. You've seen that. That's at the bottom of the stave. The next note up is D, followed by E, F, and G. That's halfway through what we call the C scale. And the C scale is the building blocks of music, if you like. It's like a staircase of notes from one point to another point. It's a scale, all right? And that's how we start to learn how to play our instrument, how we learn to read music, and how we understand how music comes together. Don't worry too much about that now, but I just want you to think about these 5 different notes that you're going to practice. The first one is C, the next one is D, E, F, and G. The fingering for D is 1 and 3. So remember, fingers on top of the valves, 1 and 3 is the next note up. So we're looking for this note to sound higher in pitch than the C we just played. I'm going to play a C and then I'm going to play a D. Did you hear the difference between the 2 notes? Hopefully that second one sounded higher to you in pitch. Let's go on and do the next 4 notes. So C, D, E, F, and G after C. Okay? So for E, we are playing 1 and 2. For F, we are playing 1. For G, we are playing open. All right? Now, this demands a lot of practice, and you need to really look at the resources that we've been putting online for you, and really remember what the fingerings are for each of those notes. Okay? If you get the wrong fingers, you're going to play the wrong notes. It's as simple as that. So you need to be really careful about playing the right notes and checking that you've got the right fingers down, and also getting used to what the notes sound like. So I'm going to play this a couple of times, so you can always come back to this if you're not too sure what the notes sound like. I'm starting on C, and I'm going up to G. That might sound familiar to you. La da dee 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 dee. That's a very familiar sequence of notes. So hopefully you'll get used to what that sounds like, especially on the cornet or whatever instrument you're learning right now. Okay? The final thing I want to look at today is the distance between one note and a much higher note. So let's think about the first note I played and then the last note I played. We call that an interval. So the distance between the first note and the last note, it's called an interval. You don't need to worry too much about that right now. But for those of you who are interested, maybe have some prior knowledge of music, then that maybe help you to relate it to this. So the first note is a C, the last note's going to be a G, and we're going to hear that big interval, okay? That's actually a very famous interval of a fifth, and you might recall the last post sounding like that, because that's exactly what the notes are. So practice that. It's a good way of getting used to playing low and high notes, one after each other. And then we can do a smaller interval as well. So let's take, say, a D and an F. So remember, D is 1 and 3, and an F is 1. And this is what it sounds like. Doesn't that sound a little bit sadder than the previous interval? That's because it's actually what we call a minor third. So it's a minor third interval. So it's different in the distance between each of those intervals, and it just makes it sound a little different, and it sounds actually a little bit sadder in its mood. So that's something to practice as well, those smaller intervals. Okay, the very final point now is that when you're playing a higher note, you're going to have to increase the speed of the air going through the instrument. All right, so that low C is going to just be a nice slow column of air. The G is going to need a little bit more vibrance in the airflow. Okay, so you can hear the difference in the airflow a little bit more when I'm just buzzing like that. Go ahead and practice those things right now. You could spend several days on the first 5 notes of that scale, C, D, E, F, G. Remember the fingerings, check our resources to make sure that you're playing the right fingers at the right time. And please make sure that you're looking at the resources and working out what those notes look like on the stave as well, because that's really important for your development in reading music. Good luck, keep practicing, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, so we've introduced the different note lengths. Let's practice playing those note lengths using the note G. And you'll see from the exercise that we start with our whole notes, then we have half notes, then we have quarter notes, and we finish with one big whole note at the end. Let's try playing that exercise now. I hope you were counting when you were playing, because it's really important to get those note lengths accurate. Let's try the next exercise, exercise B. Counting all the way through that one as well. Really important that you know how long each of those notes last for. Now it's time to practice changing notes and rhythms. Make sure that you count all the time and that you keep it nice and equal and even. Here we have an exercise using various notes, G, C, D, E, F, and they are changing in note value as well. Let's have a go. This is exercise C. I'm sure that's sounding great. Do these a couple of times each to make sure that you're getting it right. And then finally, exercise D, which again is using different notes. Did you recognize that tune? God is so good. Well done. Practice those exercises and we'll come back together soon. Hey, welcome back. Great to see you again. I'm so pleased you're still doing this and I'm sure you're sounding great. And don't forget, you can contact us anytime at NSC Music and Arts if you need some help and some special tips or any advice. Just get in contact with us through our website or social media channels. Now, you may have noticed that there were several more exercises after the last video that you could have gone on to practice. Exercise E, F, G, and H, all using different note values and changing those notes that you know already. So for those of you that whizzed on ahead, well done, absolutely, keep going. But I would expect for most of you guys, you'll just want to practice those first 3 or 4 exercises just to make sure you really understand what the note lengths are all about. We're going to move on today and look at playing higher notes. So higher notes in pitch, okay? You're going to really push yourself now, and let's learn the last 3 notes that complete that C major scale that I was talking about earlier. So far we know C, D, E, F, and G. We're going to go on and learn A, B, and C to get that whole scale. Now don't worry if you can't play these notes. What we're working through here is really a long period of practice at home and time with your teacher. So maybe you'll want to watch one of these videos a week to get to where you are now. So don't be too worried about keeping up with this next stage right now, but it will really help you and push you if you can learn these next 3 notes. So we're going to start on the G, okay, that G note that we finished up on, which is our open valve note. Then we go to A, and introducing A, which is going to be 1 and 2. Then B, which is going to be number 2, and finally C, which is open. Now you'll notice that C, G, and the other C that we're going to learn now are all on the same valve position, which is basically 0, okay? So we're using our lips only to position the airflow and to get our lips tighter as we get higher to actually achieve that pitch change. And the way that the instrument's designed is that you can play several notes using the same different valve combinations to achieve different pitches. And we call that harmonics of the instrument. Again, don't worry too much about that, but for some of you, you'll want to know that. And it's really important that you know which note you're playing, especially when you've got the same fingers going down for certain notes. You'll notice that about A and E as well in the C scale. So that's just something to watch out for, just to make sure that you're playing the right notes. But let's play that G, then followed by A, then followed by B, and followed by that higher C. All right, so we're really working harder there to get up the scale of the C scale. Now, as you get higher again, remember to tighten your embouchure a little bit, but really increase the airflow. It's about the airflow, the column of air, getting faster through the instrument. Really, really important. Let's try it again. Okay? And at all times, try and get a good sound when you're playing from your instrument. It's really important. Remember, you're here to communicate a beautiful sound, and certainly in Salvation Army context, you're there to communicate the lyrics that would be associated with the music that you're playing. So make a joyful sound, make a good sound, make it really nice and sweet, so we're pleasing God, but we're pleasing those that are here to listen to you. Okay, and finally on this lesson, we're just going to think about the intervals again that I was talking about, and the fact that we can play several notes with the same fingers, or in this case, without any fingers at all. So, we look at low C, which is open, middle G there, which is going to be open, and the higher C, which is open. So let's just practice making those changes in airspeed and the adjustments that you need to make between C, G, and C. Does that sound familiar? There's a piece by Strauss, which is very famous, which starts with that exact sequence. Let's hear it again. So as our resources say, over time your muscle memory will help you remember how each note feels to play that playing of each note correctly, and it will become fairly simple to you as you practice, okay? If you're finding it difficult to reach the high notes, simply go back to a note you can play and then build your strength from there, okay? It's like weightlifting. I don't know enough about that, but it's like building stamina for anything. Get back to the point you're happy with and you can deal with, and then go from there. Push yourself forward step by step. Don't be discouraged if you can't do this straight away. Like I said, this is really good stuff. It's important stuff. It's difficult stuff at times, but you are making great progress if you're at this stage right now. Well done. Hi again, everybody. Welcome back. I'm sure that you've been practicing again. I hope you have been practicing, getting those higher notes. Those exercises that were online, they're all there for you to just practice through, do at your own time and your own pace. But I hope that you're making good progress, and don't forget to reach out if you have any questions. All right, today we're talking about dynamics and tempo, two really important musical elements that you're going to discover and you're going to work around in this video. So the basis of these is because music can be made much more meaningful, expressive, and interesting in a number of ways. All right? Some of the ways to achieve this is by adding dynamics and changing the tempo. In this lesson, we'll learn about these important elements of music making. Dynamics. In music, dynamics refer to the volume, as how loud or how soft something is. Take a look at our resources online, and you'll see that when the music's played soft, you're going to see the marking of a P. And when the music is played loud, you're going to see the marking of an F. Now, way back when music was really popular in Italy, in those classical music era times, then we were using Italian terms to write and describe the musical elements. Okay? It's an historical thing that has kept to this day. So some may ask, well, why don't you write quiet and loud? Well, this goes back to those historical days, and when we write music, we use Italian terms. So P is actually short for piano, and F is short for forte. So forte means loud, piano means soft. The other dynamic that you want to know about is MF, which is medium, and that's mezzo forte. Okay, mezzo forte. So that MF is that middle dynamic. So if we were to grade them, we go from piano and then mezzo piano, which is the next one up, which is moderately soft, okay? And then MF, which is mezzo forte, and then forte. All right, so piano, mezzo forte, piano, MP, mezzo piano, mezzo forte, and forte. I'm going to play those dynamics to you now, so you hear the difference between them. So playing dynamics requires quite a bit of concentration and real attention to what you're doing. In fact, the quieter the dynamic written, the much harder it is to play successfully. The best brass bands in the world are the ones that can play the quietest and the most controlled. So really practice that. Take a hymn tune and practice playing it piano all the way through. You'll find it demands so much attention and control. Try that at home. Okay, so after dynamics, we're going to talk about tempo. And tempo, of course, is how fast or how slow something is. And again, using the Italian terms that I introduced to you just earlier, the resource that we have here to help us is Allegro. The word Allegro is being used, and that's Italian for fast. All right, so that's what we're going to be thinking about for fast tempi, which is Allegro, and then when the piece is played slowly, the tempo word is Adagio, okay? Adagio. When the piece is to be played at a medium speed, the tempo is referred to as Moderato. All right, so going from slow to fast, we have Adagio, Moderato, and Allegro. Okay, get used to seeing those words because they will appear on different pieces of music. So let's have a go at just playing those three tempo markings. It's going to sound a little strange because it's quite sort of isolated and detached from what would be the context of a real piece of music. So they were actually the same note lengths played at different speeds. Now you have an opportunity to practice and put these different tempi markings into context of Adagio, Allegro, and Moderato. So take a look at these next few exercises. I'm going to play for you exercise A, which is the Adagio. Don't forget to play dynamics as well. Demands a lot of control when you're playing loud and then quiet. That's going to be a challenge for you, so really do take a look at that. And just finally, I'll play exercise B, which is the Allegro exercise. And again, this is using forte and piano markings, so get used to the different dynamics that you're having to produce, but keeping that consistent pulse to make sure that you keep a good Allegro speed going. Good. Go ahead and practice those next few exercises. Check out our resources and go over some of those Italian terms, just so you're making sure that you understand them. Well done. Guys, it's unbelievable. This is the last video for this level. You have been amazing. If you've got this far in a short space of time, or if you've taken your time and worked really, really hard to get to this point, You've done brilliantly. So congratulations. And this is the exciting bit. We're actually going to play together. All right, so you'll see on the resources that we have lesson 1.5, group practice. Okay? And part of the fun in making music is playing songs with other people. And I know it's really difficult because of COVID and we can't be together and we're working virtually. But I'm going to play the part 1 and you can play part 2. And we're just going to play this stuff and you can play along with this video at home. So when we're playing duets, be sure to play your correct line. So I'm going to play part 1 and for now you can play part 2. And that's not that any part is harder or easier than anything else. It's just the way we're going to do it today. All right? So here is exercise A, the moderato, the medium tempo. All right? There isn't actually any dynamics marked in these exercises, so I'm going to just play everything at MF, that mezzo forte dynamic. Okay? Here we go. I hope you're able to fit your part in the gaps that I left for you. Let's do exercise B. So again, I'm going to play the first part, it's moderato, and we're going to play MF again. Well done. I'm sure that was really, really good. Let's move on to C. This time we're playing Allegro, so it's going to be a little quicker. And you'll notice that there's differences in the dynamics as well. Also, we start together. Okay, both part 1 and 2 start at the same time. So I'm going to count us in, so we're ready to play together. All right? Watch out. Watch out for the dynamics. 1, 2, 3, 4. I hope that went well for you. And now the final one, okay? This is exercise D. And this is Allegro again. It's quick, and we've got different dynamics to play. We also have different rhythms, so don't be put off too much by what I'm doing. You've got to stick to your guns, and you've got to keep your rhythms going as written in your part, okay? 1, 2, 3. I hope that sounded really good, and I hope you're able to keep in time with me as well from home. All right, on the resources, you'll see a level 1 wrap up. All right, so to finish level 1, we'll review some of the material we've learned throughout the book. For each exercise, we must remember all of the fingerings, okay, the vowels for the notes and the rests, as well as written tempi and dynamics. With all of these elements in mind, you are now ready to play in a band. Go through these exercises and just check that you understand what they are, what it means, and play them, okay? Now, I haven't talked about the trombone. Now, you'll see in the resources that the trombone has slide positions, not fingerings. However, everything else that we've talked about is completely relevant to the trombone. The embouchure, the buzzing, the breathing, the note lengths, and all the musical elements, dynamics, all those different markings are all relevant to the trombone. So just go back, when you're going through the resources, if you are playing trombone, just check that you're getting those slide positions right over the vowel positions. You've been brilliant. Thank you for joining me, and hopefully you'll move on to the next set of videos soon. Well done. Bye-bye.